Hey guys, Grevo Tools, back with part 3 of a 5-part series on zip tie guns. There's a brief overview with kind of the rundown on first, second, third on number 1, but this one's going to get a little more specific, and we are going to talk about my favorite zip tie gun that I own. Now, that's not to say there aren't more zip tie guns out there, and maybe if you guys know another one that you like better, shout it out in the comments. I'd kind of like to check it out because if you can't tell, I use these fairly consistently. Sorry, geez, that was like a burp and a hiccup in one. Pick up. So the Ty-Wrap ERG50. So they actually use the same sticker for their ERG50 model and their ERG120 model. The ERG120 model is going to be a bigger zip tie, or a bigger gun for cutting the heavier duty ones. I don't use a lot of those, so I don't even have one of the nicer ones like this. In the last video, you can see the one that I use. A little bit cheaper, more consumer friendly. I picked it up at Home Depot, but it works fine for what I need. So this guy is 18 to 50 pounds pulling force, just like all the rest. It is $150 to $180 depending on where you buy it online, and whether that includes shipping or not. You can buy these off Amazon Prime. I think they're $150 with shipping, if I remember right. That was their number. So much more affordably priced than the Evo 7, plus you get more features. I don't know, the mind, whatever. Anyway, so your adjustment on here is 1 to 8 by 1s. I personally like this better. Number 1, because I can adjust it without even looking at it. I can adjust it one-handed. I don't need to pull that lever and adjust it. I can, when I'm working on something, if I am using my 8-inch zip ties that are wider or my 4-inch zip ties that are narrower, my 8-inch ones, I can go all the way to the top, back down 3 clicks. I'm at my 5 where I like to be, usually, depending on what I'm doing. Same thing with my 4-inch ones. Usually I want to be at a 2. Oh, I guess I didn't get it that time. So I can feel just without even looking at it where I'm going with it. So I personally like that better. If you're counting by quarters, you really have to look and see where you're at on it. The other thing that I really like is it's not a 2-step process, but for some people that would be advantageous, I suppose. This guy has this little high-low gear lever. I still, for the life of me, can't figure out what it does. I always push it over towards the high side, because why not? But I can't figure out what that actually changes. It doesn't seem to adjust anything that I can find. And I've had this thing. This is cut easily tens of thousands of zip ties. So this, on the other hand, this little adjustment knob is going to adjust your squeeze length. I don't know what you technically want to call that. But so I suppose if you had smaller hands, you can see as I move it down, that gap up here increases and moves this closer in for smaller hands to squeeze. Me personally, I've got big enough hands. I don't really need to have that anywhere closer. I'd rather just have it all the way out and go to town. The number one thing that I like about this is it has a swivel head, a spinnable, and you can spin that 360 degrees any way you want, back and forth, doesn't matter. But so sometimes when you're getting into tight areas where you can't get it in this way, you can get it in that way, assuming there's some kind of a blockage there. I only move that a few times, I mean maybe a couple times a day, but it still saves me from having to manually tension it and go back and get a side cutter or something like that. It really does, it's just that easy. Another thing I like about this guy, onboard backup blade storage. I don't know how long these blades are supposed to last, but they last a long time. Anyway, so not a huge benefit, just because you can usually, even once your blade starts dulling, you start to realize it, you can still cut another couple 100,000 zip ties on the dull blade and just suffer through. You'll just feel it kind of getting gummy when it tries to cut off. And so it's not like you really need it readily accessible. One negative to the blades on this guy is these blades are only available, from what I've found, directly from Ty-Wrap. Now, that being said, in my experience working with Ty-Wrap, they are a very good company to work with. I called them up. They knew exactly what I wanted. They asked me how many. They had a $15 minimum order, which you wouldn't think would be a problem, except they're incredibly affordable. The blades on this guy are only about $1.50 or something like that. And so I just ordered 10 of them so that I hit my $15 minimum order. And now I have a lifetime supply basically of those. And I guess if I eventually will use them all up, then I can go back and spend another $15 minimum order. But shipping wasn't bad just because they're so tiny. Let me grab them here so you guys can see. These are the little tiny blades. So I've got a few of them in that little container. And that little guy sits right up in the nose cone and just comes up and cuts the zip tie. Words are hard. So yeah, but I mean, $1.50 a piece for those, I think is pretty reasonable in this day and age. I did try sharpening these at one time, and no joy. There's just not enough meat there to do anything with. Another nice advantage of the Ty-Wrap is it's going to come with a new blade in here plus one in your spare holder, so you don't even have to worry about buying blades for quite a while, because like I said, they do last. This guy also is going to, I'll set it on 4 just like I did on the Evo 7, is going to have a longer stroke length. So if you count the number of pulls it takes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So easily snipped off an 8. Took 10, just a little over 10. I'll just call it 10 on the Evo 7. So a little faster when you're running in the zip tie as well. This guy does pop apart, and you could potentially oil it. I've never really done anything with the innards on this. I don't know if it really matters. It's a little bit tricky. Oh, look at that. Nope. So you got to get this guy to grab just right before you can. There we go. A little bit tricky to get back in. You got to kind of squeeze and push while making sure this doesn't squeeze down on you. But yeah, I've had this one the longest, and it's not my favorite because it's the longest. It's my favorite because it does more than the Evo 7. The Evo 7 is much nicer in the hand. It feels a little more smooth. Maybe that's also because this one has a few, 100,000 zip ties cut on the other one. But it is just a nicer feeling, more balanced zip tie gun. But any day of the week, unless you need one of those few features that Evo 7 has, I would not even consider getting it, because it's almost twice the price, or twice the price depending on where you're buying from. Just get 2 of these and then you'd really be set. So yeah, the Ty-Wrap ERG50, way to go. I don't know if I mentioned, from what I can find online, I've long since thrown away the packaging on all these, so I don't know. I believe this is made in Sweden. If you're one of those people, the Evo 7 is made in the USA. So yeah, I don't know. Pretty nice gun for the price. You'd have to be using a lot of zip ties like I do to justify spending the money on one of these. But in the next video, I'm going to show you my best buy, best bang for the buck. So go check that out. Thanks for stopping by, guys. And sorry I'm not better at YouTube.